1. What is going on, everybody? It's episode 458 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. We are trying not to laugh right now.
Real quick, $20 super chat from Omni Travis says, "Hi, Brett."
Well, hello, Omni Travis. How you doing, buddy?
And hello, crisis actors. It's Mary. We're in a weird mood today. We're in a silly, goofy mood. Maybe a little bit British, maybe a little bit solipsistic, if you will.
I'm feeling very, very lighthearted today.
Well, maybe the show should be 10 minutes shorter.
There you go. Well, if you read any of my chat discussion with the people in the chat right now, I did say that literally everything should be 10 minutes shorter. Everything, every movie ever made. Every movie. I don't care if it's a 10-minute short film.
Guys, like this show, like the episode if you think that this show should be 10 minutes shorter.
Exactly. And it should. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. Rachel Zegler, there is this crazy rumor that's been going around.
It's all true.
It got out of control. It's
all real.
It's all real. Yeah, you can tell she's being very serious right there. Where there was a rumor that got out of control that Rachel Zegler has been fired from Snow White. We will get into that. You'll have to wait at least 10 more minutes before we get into that. But we are going to discuss that and all the other things surrounding that information. We're also going to talk about Kathy Griffin, who is finding another person to clout chase on. This time it is Russell Brand. So we will discuss her stupid video. And we're also going to talk about the finer details. I pulled up some screenshots discussing the ins and outs of the parts of the writer's strike, about the writer's deal with the Motion Picture Association the parts I found the most interesting. I just want to spend a couple of minutes going through it, talking about it. I know. Mary finds it boring. I find it kind of interesting. We'll talk about it. We're going to get into that. Also, actor turned media personality Laurence Fox has been suspended from his network because he dared make fun of a feminist. So we're going to talk about that. We got a bunch of other stuff to talk about today. We're going to get into all of it. It is just us hanging out, everybody. So I hope you all are along for the ride. But remember, would you hit the like button on this video? Would you subscribe to this channel? If you have not subscribed already, thank you very much for that. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified anytime one of these episodes or segments goes live. Also, remember to share it with your friends, and all super chats, $20 and over. We will interrupt the discussion. We will read those super chats right then and there, like we did from Omni Travis just a couple of minutes ago, did we not?
Yeah.
I saw them in the chat earlier discussing about what it would be like if a crisis party went off like right as the show started. They could contribute.
Has that happened before?
Yes, during the 300th or the 400th episode.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it has happened. You can distract us by doing that. So we got a bunch of stuff to get into. Mary, are you ready to get started?
I'm ready to get started. Are you going to ask the chair?
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, Brett.
Oh wow, it sounds just like the chair. It sounds just like the chair. So we're gonna get right into it. So first things first, I didn't send this to you, but this is. Remember Matt Walsh when he loves to dance?
Yeah.
He loves to dance, but then he went on strike.
I voted for him in Dancing with the Stars.
Did you?
I texted in.
He lost. He's off already.
Damn it!
Conservatives can't dance. Proven.
Damn it.
Yeah.
We're persecuted in the reality television world.
First one voted off.
This is absurd. I thought that Matt Walsh voluntarily left the show. No,
so he left the show, and then they renegotiated a contract at the last minute and got everyone back. So it says right here, let me pull it up here. It was really interesting because basically they got everyone back to it says a deal was quickly reached this past Sunday with all of its cast members quickly coming back to work. So they were, he had principles up to a point. Then they offered him more money.
Then he decided he just wanted to dance too much. The desire to dance just overtook his body.
And he's like, look, I'm done.
He was possessed with the desire to dance.
I'm done making movies about what is a woman, and now I'm going to go and dance.
Yeah, it's what he wanted to do all along.
Yeah.
He just had to build a platform before moving on.
Well, you know what it is? They may not be able to get Matt Walsh, but you know who they could definitely get is James O'Keefe. James O'Keefe legitimately does love to dance.
Yeah. He's a performer at heart.
He would love it. He would be like,
even like a Broadway.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did his own like Project Veritas presents a night of dance.
That'd be amazing.
Like if he was still with Project Veritas, if that was still now it's the O'Keefe Media Group or something. He's like he'll have his own dance called O'Keefin. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. So that is good that he got voted off because he was out there striking and he was annoying. So
Yeah.
sucks to be him.
We like the real Matt Walsh better, don't we, folks?
Way better. All right, guys. So here's an actress. She's a British actress. Her name's Kathy Tyson.
She looks British.
She says.
Sorry, was that?
We've got a couple of British stories here at the beginning.
Yeah.
Here. This and the fantastic airplane pilot who I want to fly on a plane with. It says British actress Kathy Tyson says calling someone woke is just as bad as an offensive racial slur. That's interesting because I just think it's like most of the time when we use that term, I want to smack myself from the cringe. You know?
Okay, but she also criticized the term white privilege because it's divisive. So I don't know, what terms are we allowed to use?
Broken
now?
clock, right? Twice a day, right?
Yeah, or just once.
Yeah,
in a lifetime.
Like who is the lady, the insufferable stage actress that we talked about that one time? Do you remember what I'm talking about? The lady who yelled at everybody for not wearing masks on stage.
Is it Patty?
Patty LaPone? LaPone?
Yes.
Yeah. Like that's
like, get the fuck out.
Put your mask on, and otherwise you're gonna kill everybody. They're all gonna die. That's what she was saying, basicing. She's like 800 years old.
Kathy Tyson said the terms woke and race card are deeply offensive to me. Noting that the latter is thrown in your face if you make a criticism of anything, and the former is used to undermine progressive ideology. I mean, yeah, I don't know what's so wrong with undermining an ideology that you disagree with.
Even the term
she said,
white privilege
I'm not
is very
about
divisive.
sides.
Yeah.
That's kind of dumb.
She says she noted her younger self wouldn't have agreed to talk to a conservative news outlet, but that studying for an English degree later in life taught me how to open my mind to different viewpoints. I find it press X to doubt on any university teaching you to be open to different viewpoints these days.
Do you think that woke is a term used by closed-minded people?
I think it's a term used by us when we can't think of a better word. That's what I think.
There was this really viral clip of a right-wing journalist being asked to define the term woke in an interview, and she wasn't able to define it because it's wide of a term that it doesn't have a good definition right now. I mean, you could cobble one together if you were writing it down beforehand, but when you're put on the spot like that, I understand why she couldn't.
James Lindsay has a pretty, I don't know what it is. Like, go look at it.
None of us know what it is.
But I actually have my own definition of it. If you go listen to the song Levi Wokes from Saturday Night Live, it's that, but serious. I
would just say it's the act of redefining every facet of society and culture in terms of social hierarchies.
Yep. Marxism.
That's pretty much it. But it could be called all sorts of things. Yep. Woke isn't the only one.
But in a lot of, like, I think the other one that I like is like it's like porn. You know it when you see it.
That's true.
Because there are things that people will disagree heavily on whether it's considered that or not. And it doesn't necessarily mean bad. I was talking to what movie was I talking with someone where I said, like, it doesn't always necessarily make the movie bad. Guys, maybe somebody in the chat who remembers this show better than my brain does.
This isn't what you brought up, but Get Out is sort of like that. Get Out is a good movie, and I do think it has woke undertones. Yeah, there would have to be, like, there was some movie where we talked about something. I don't remember. It was literally so long ago. Barbie is good in some parts of the movie, and I still thought it was totally woke. Yeah. So, it's an interesting thing to talk about for this lady, but at the very least, I mean, it is interesting when an older person is willing to entertain the discussion. To throw in their 2 cents. But the younger pence. I'm sorry, she's British. Yeah, the younger generation would be more inclined to disagree with you and not be willing to hear your opinion these days. Yeah. Especially Gen Z and younger. So. All right. We have another British person. Yes. Oh, yes. Maddie Healy. Maddie Healy he's still on tour with the 1975 right now, but in a recent concert, he posed next to a naked wax figure of himself that I kind of thought was like lying on the floor, dead next to him. And at the same time, he announced that the band is going on an indefinite hiatus from shows, which basically means that they're not going to be touring for a while. I don't think that means they're breaking up. But the wax figure thing is certainly unique.
I wonder if he like paid them extra to like make him better endowed down there.
Right, I was thinking the same thing. And there were some fans who really didn't appreciate this. One said, "I'm glad my mom isn't a fan of the 1975. I would be mortified if I took her to a show and on the screen is a naked Maddie Healy wax figure." Another said, "I'm not saying I'm traumatized, but naked Maddie Healy wax figure ascending from the B stage floor was not what I was expecting to experience on a Tuesday evening.
Yeah.
Sending Maddie my therapist bills." I would be in the same boat.
Have you ever seen them live? Do you see live music a lot?
Not a lot, no. I think the last time was seeing Coheed and Cambria, and there just isn't.
Did they play Welcome Home?
They did.
Okay.
But that was in Pittsburgh, and that's just way too far away, and there's not a lot near us.
The beauty of living in Minnesota was like Minneapolis has a thriving live music
And when I lived
scene.
in Raleigh, there were plenty of venues in Raleigh.
Like uptown in Minneapolis is like a very, very famous, like in the song from Good Old Days, I don't remember the name of the song, Good Old Days from Macklemore, he talks about the snow outside of First Ave. Like a lot of artists reference First Ave in their music, and a lot of famous artists have gotten their start by performing there. So I got lucky to live in Minnesota, where live music, between that and 7th Street Entry and like a bunch of these other places that were very, very good for like smaller acts that would eventually move on to like, back then it was like when like it wasn't my genre, but it's like who here is going to end up on the Warped Tour next? Like they start there and then they make it to larger scale events.
Do you think that the Warped Tour is going to make a comeback?
I hope not.
Ever.
Okay, so like I've been seeing an insane amount of like, maybe it's just like the algorithm, but a lot of the weird like emo like skits. My new favorite one is this girl. She's got the devil's lock dyed hair at the tips, and she's got the Vans shirt on with the Vans and the sweater tied around her waist and the black nails. And she looks to the camera. She's like, she's pretending that she just came out of a coma. She's like, "What's TikTok? Come on, we're going to the My Chemical Romance concert."
I've seen a lot of that genre of TikToks.
There's a lot of those that are going around now.
Simpler times, but also the Warped Tour in general had its own Me Too era.
No, did you see the one I sent you the other day?
Yes.
It's like, this is my impression of an artist on the Warped Tour. It's like, I categorically deny all the allegations. All the allegations.
Or the allegations of my bandmate. That had its own Me Too debacle.
It was married.
Which makes sense. I mean, come on.
It was all kind of tied together with MySpace at the time, which was very big for like the emo music scene.
Yeah.
Like again, not my genre, but I had plenty of friends who had like deeply, deeply like edited photos with, looking down and looking sad. I also was thinking about how Tom from MySpace gets all the credit now. They're like, he didn't censor us. I'm like, no, but he made you pick top 8 friends and then let you fight about it with everyone. He's kind of a psychopath.
He's a psychopath, but he's not gonna silence you from speaking your truth.
But like he made you pick like top 8 friends.
I mean, if you think about it, that's a genius way to like add another incentive to be like on that platform.
Yeah. Bonsai Piper in the chat says, met my wife on MySpace.
Based?
My first long-term girlfriend met on MySpace.
Based. How many MySpace marriages are there out there?
There's probably got to be a couple of MySpace. Also, it's the only people who who weren't interested in coding beforehand learned how to do HTML from MySpace. So, all right.
Learn to code.
Learn to code. We'll take a break from the British people for a second while I let you know that Sound of Freedom has become one of the biggest independent films ever made, in the top 20 earners of independent films ever, as it crossed $212 million at the global box office on a budget of just $15 million. We did a video the other day. It was really weird. We got like an interesting amount of engagement when we covered the Tim Ballard accusations, everything that's coming out about him, and somebody's like, what is this, the Tim Ballard defense channel? And I'm like,
I don't think we defended him.
I think we just talked about what the allegations were, and brought up the fact that there's some interesting timing. If that's true,
that's kind of messed up.
And we talked about how there's some interesting timing related to their political endeavors.
We just got a $25 super chat from Get123. Me, why did you marry me? Wife, because you're funny. Me, not because I'm good in bed. Wife, see, you're hilarious.
There
That's
you go.
the most dad joke.
It's great. That was
Dad
perfect.
joke I've ever heard.
That was fantastic. And that's if you can't be handsome, at least try to be funny. That's what they say.
By the way, poll in the chat. If you haven't answered it yet, get to that. Would you pay to see a female comedian? And we were talking about, does a female comedian have to be ugly in order to be funny?
Melissa Lynn in the chat, Melissa H. Lynn says, I met my better half on my yearbook.
What?
That would be like meeting.
What is my yearbook?
That was like it's like classmates.com, I think.
What? What is that?
Look it up. It was back in the day. I still get ads on my like personal email from classmates.com.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, like it's like
There are probably plenty of live journal marriages. I know that there are a lot of Twitter marriages because I've met people in Twitter marriages. That's a real
insane.
thing. It is
That's
insane.
insane.
They have children.
Like
They have Twitter children.
they should be forced to make vows that are 180 characters or less. You shouldn't be allowed to give a long-winded vow if you met on Twitter. I decree this. I don't make the rules.
That's a good idea.
Like you should not be, and you shouldn't be able to make it a thread. You cannot have a Twitter thread like I love you so much.
I'm not gonna unfurl that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. It's not going to happen. Also, I did see that Roseanne made an announcement recently that her new show is going live at the end of this month.
Okay.
So it's going to be coming up here.
It's just gonna be a talk show.
Yeah. Oh, I just saw the announcement of when it was going to be. So we'll have to see. She's thin these days. She's like
In a good way or
like
a bad
yeah,
way?
no, like I mean, she looks much healthier.
Okay. Good
She's-
for her.
Yeah, like it's crazy. All right, and back onto the British bullshit here, guys. This is I don't know if it's
British
pop culture,
people just being super
but
British.
this story made my day. So it says British Airways pilot admits to coke-fueled romp before trying to fly, but it's not what he did. So he snorted cocaine off of a woman's bare chest.
What you call knockers.
Yes,
In
if
the
I was-
British language?
Knockers, yeah. That's what I imagine. If I was British, that's what I would call it. And he called himself a, quote, naughty boy.
That was his defense. I'm a naughty
Look,
boy.
this
But
guy's also-
I just was asking, how are British people real at this point?
How are they
The
real?
actual text screenshot has him explaining this whole
It's on
story. And he said, that's the story of how I ended up snorting coke off a girl's knockers. And then his friend replies, got to say, it's not my cup of tea.
It's
Like-
amazing. Like,
Are you even a real person?
I would imagine that.
Righto, chap.
Wasn't there a
Not
scandal?
my cup of tea, though.
In the chat, maybe they can let me know this. Wasn't there a scandal like 10 years ago about pilots like with DUIs or pilots who were drinking before flights?
I don't remember.
Okay, so that was a big thing for a while, if I remember correctly.
It's mostly the plane flying for you anyway.
And I also
Just
saw a
muscle memory.
statistic somewhere that said like 56% of pilots or something like this admitted to falling asleep while flying, and then like an almost equal amount of co-pilots said they too have also fallen asleep while flying.
It's kind of unavoidable
Because it's a lot of okay. So if anybody follows me on Twitter or Instagram, I posted the other day. I started rewatching. Actually, technically, I was rewatching episode 1, but then watching the rest of the show. The show Lone Gunman, which was an X-Files spinoff that they did in 2001, and I wanted to rewatch the pilot because I remembered it vaguely. But in this episode, which premiered in March of 2001, it's a conspiracy story about an airline getting hijacked and crashed into the World Trade Center.
Okay.
6 months before what happened on
Yes.
9/11. And I just rewatched it because it was like, you get it tickles you to see the way they treat airline safety at this time, meaning that like they just walk onto the plane, like they throw the ticket at the lady, he's on the phone in there, he literally it's not the main character, but his dad just opens the cockpit door and just walks in to talk to the pilots. And they're like, sir, you can't be back here. It's just like, now you would just
get tackled.
You would get
and
tackled.
tased.
Yeah, exactly. Or shot with rubber bullets. And it was great. It's like that whole, they ruined that show too, because somebody pointed out, and I never made it past the pilot when I watched it, but the first episode of that show, it's done like, the theme song of this show is like, it's like the national anthem, and it's basically talking about how they're patriots because they're going to expose the government, and it's super based. And it's kind of serious. Like, the tone of the pilot is serious, but then after the pilot, it becomes
There
quirky.
were a lot of strange references to 9/11 before it happened in pop culture. Specifically, I remember, like, I saw a screenshot from an episode of Johnny Bravo.
Okay.
That, like, in like 2000, that had the burning towers in the background.
I mean,
like,
it's also possible that it's relevant because there was an attack on the World Trade Center in 1993.
okay.
Okay, so I've actually been reading more about that recently.
You're going down the conspiracy rabbit holes.
Not a conspiracy. I do think it's fascinating, like all of the ways in which we've been connected to the Middle East for such a long time, and how much terrorism.
Be careful, Brad. Mossad might take us off the air.
You never know. But like talking about, I think his name was Ramzi Youssef, which was the guy who orchestrated that attack in '93. But it's very, very interesting because like he thought he was going to basically, he put a car bomb underneath, I think it was the North Tower, and then the idea was that it would like take that tower down, and then it would like go into the other tower. And then I also saw the most unbelievable meme. It's not even a meme. It's just a picture of a documentary called Osama bin Laden: The Road to 9/11. It's just like, and it's like the guy reworks the cover as if it's like a basketball team that won the NBA championship. It's fucked up. But like, you know, we've it's become, those things have become part of pop culture, and it's weird how we've kind of assimilated tragedy into the cultural zeitgeist in that way.
Jimmy Carr jokes about 9/11,
and it's not funny because he's not good at it, right? Everyone's like, well, it's like people
would be perfectly ready to laugh about a 9/11 joke. You just didn't do it well.
Yeah, well, people were doing that during Oppenheimer when people were making the Barbenheimer jokes about the two.
That is.
And then people were like, how would you feel if we made jokes about 9/11? And Americans were like,
It doesn't translate because they don't have the same sense of humor that the West does.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
So yeah, so just if you're gonna go get your pilot's license, maybe skip the hookers and blow before you go flying. Otherwise,
That's
you might.
Solid advice. Thank you, Brett.
I imagine, however, like I can't imagine that. You know, that the maybe he just never snorted coke before. Maybe that's what it was.
It was just
his first time.
Yeah,
He's
really
got
special memory for him.
It's I imagine that like if it was his first time, it might be a little bit weird. I imagine that like, look, I'm just saying, if I skated plenty on drugs back in the day. So what I'm saying is that if I was if the skills translated and I was a pilot, I probably would have been able to fly.
At least when you're skating, only you can die.
Yes, exactly. All right.
We have another British person.
It really is all British people here today. Holy crap.
Weird.
So there is a rumor going around, again, that Christopher Nolan may be in line to direct James Bond 26. I would love this because I know he's wanted to direct a James Bond movie. That's something he's been passionate and outspoken about wanting to do. I think that he could bring a lot of gravitas to a role that people feel might have lost a little bit of that in the last couple of years with how divisive the role has become because they've made James Bond more emotional. He's not quite the same character he used to be. And if Christopher Nolan was to direct a back to basics James Bond film
with Aaron Taylor Johnson,
with whoever, right? Like, so he saves the day. He has sex with at least one woman that isn't the main character.
Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to be like, why is this Bond girl so young? Can you get someone like 30 years older than me, please?
he's a James Bond raised in an age of
I can't convincingly do this scene. She needs to be old and haggard.
He's like, look, this is a James Bond that grew up in the age of MILF porn. I'm going to need her to be at least 20 years older. No, like, but he has sex with at least one random woman. He has sex with the main character. He saves the day on multiple occasions. He fixes his tie and his cufflinks. you got a James Bond movie. Now, if they don't do that, they could end up getting Martin Campbell back, who, if you guys don't know, Martin Campbell successfully launched 2 separate James Bonds. He did both Pierce Brosnan's first film, GoldenEye. He also did Casino Royale with Daniel Craig. So maybe they bring him back and see if he can three-peat and direct 3 good James Bond movies. I think that would be pretty cool.
So Amazon is the one producing?
Yeah, because Amazon bought the rights to, or bought MGM.
Right.
So they would be the one producing it. And that reality show is still going on. I know nothing about it. I just know that it's a James Bond reality show, and I refuse to look into it any further on principle.
Do they have to like make James Bond gadgets?
I don't know. I don't care. I don't want to know. I don't want to care. It's a stupid idea, and
Okay.
I don't think so. Somebody says, I assumed, RCW says, I assumed James would be Janine. That's funny that I assume most people would think it was going to be Jane Bond, but Janine would be just as insulting. I don't think they're going to.
He says he wants to do period settings and stick close to original source material. Yep. And it's unclear what Amazon wants. I mean, given their track record.
Courier626 says the best James Bonds get shot, stabbed, waterboarded, and still saves the day. It's funny because I rewatched Die Another Day fairly recently, and it is considered to be one of the worst James Bond movies. It was the last one with with Pierce Brosnan, and it had the worst visual effects, like maybe not as bad as the Expendables 4 was the other day, but it's really, really bad. As the movie goes on, it gets more and more absurd and ridiculous and bad. And if the theme, which was basically like a giant thing that can harness the power of the sun and create a second sun on Earth, it's ridiculous and can be turned into a targeted weapon. It was ridiculous. I love the premise, but a lot of people hate it. I didn't hate it per se, but it's commonly referred to as one of the worst. But it had this amazing opening scene where basically James Bond gets caught in North Korea and tortured. And the whole intro sequence is just him getting tortured. And then eventually they have to do a prisoner swap with him. And the whole movie starts dark, gray, serious, and then gets progressively more ridiculous as the movie goes on. There was like a great premise there that they could have continued with that they didn't do. But yeah, would have been good. But I think that Nolan could do it. I think that he could. I don't know if he would want to. I think his name is one of the things
I thought that the article said he's been wanting to.
I don't know if he would want to if the studio is going to interfere. He would need to work with a studio that's going to give him the leeway that he deserves, right? And now the other interesting thing about it is at one point when I was talking to you, I said I think that movies like James Bond, or franchises like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, they should not have up-and-coming directors. I think that properties of that level of importance, you should essentially be an anointed creator. Like you should be somebody where it's a no-brainer that they would direct that movie, right? Like you don't want, because that's what Marvel does.
But they're all straight white men, and you're not going to get pats on the back from the media for hiring Scorsese to direct. I mean, he wouldn't engage with the franchise anyway because he has disdain for it. But
I wonder if he would do James Bond. I think he would look at James Bond differently than he would look at than he looks at comic book movies. There was that whole
he's getting into a row with fanboys right now.
Yeah, as usual. I do love that anytime.
At him.
Do you think that he's just really good at engagement online and he's just like, oh, I'm out of the news. I got this Killers of the Flower Moon movie coming up that nobody's talking about. Time to crap on Marvel again.
I don't imagine that he's super online. But if he is, he knows exactly what he's doing. And he's the only one doing publicity for his movie right now. So he has free reign to just say whatever he wants.
He's got a publicist that knows how the internet works. He's like, yeah, you get crap on Marvel. That'll get you some clicks.
He said that superhero movies are devoid of any human emotion. And then it's just so cringy. Like all of the DC and Marvel fans are responding to it, like trying to do their clever retort by posting GIFs where, like, I don't know, a Marvel character like sheds a single tear.
Yeah.
It's just the worst CGI ever.
And you're just looking at it like you look like you're about to consume more Marvel right now.
Proving his point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Nolan would be a good fit for it. Look, I actually, when I was on with Shane and Mandy and Dale on Ballers, I was actually talking to them about about how I'm the only one on planet Earth that likes the movie Tenet. Like,
I haven't watched it.
I'm literally the only person who likes Tenet.
That was Aaron Taylor Johnson, right?
It was John David Washington.
He was in it, right?
Robert Pattinson, John David Washington, Kenneth Branagh. If he was in a smaller role. But the point is like that movie to me was like the sci-fi stuff I didn't care about. I can turn my brain off if the sci-fi stuff makes sense or if it doesn't. But the actual spy elements to it were good. And the way he created the airport scene in that movie was so great. I'm like, look, I can give it a pass, even if the CGI or even if the premise is a little bit flawed. I do think it's funny because they try really hard. Kenneth Branagh is the actor who played Poirot in Haunting in Venice. And they try very hard in the score on that movie to make him seem threatening. And he's just not very tall and not very or if he is tall, he doesn't look it. And he just doesn't look very like the woman he's dating in the movie or the woman he's married to in the movie is like taller than him with heels on. So like every time he's like giving her this evil controlling look, the music gets really tense and swells. And I'm like, all I see is the guy who played Ludo Bagman or whatever in Harry Potter. And it looks ridiculous.
I can't distract myself from this. Stephen King, he's got to be engagement farming, right?
Probably.
He wants the Twitter ad revenue. He just tweeted yesterday, Donald Trump, worst president ever. That's the entire tweet.
He's going to lose his
7.8 million views.
He's going to lose his monetization, so he's got to say something quickly to get him on the...
What is even the point of tweeting that?
I also wonder if they were to do Christopher Nolan as a James Bond director, could they get Robert Pattinson to play James Bond?
Why would they do that?
Well, because Nolan has worked with Pattinson in the past. So maybe they could talk him into doing it. He's a little old now, I think. He's in his mid-30s. I think they're probably looking for somebody in their late 20s. But I think that they could probably do it. He's also kind of he's smaller. I don't think that they would do that, but he's on the list.
I don't know.
So
he's British.
All right, guys. Also, it's also worth pointing out that I read this article. It says Oppenheimer continues to defy all odds at the box office. In its 10th week of release, it's still making money. So $6.9 million overseas over the weekend. It's past $925 million, looking to end close to $950 million, which means it's going to close in on that billion. It's not going to make $1 billion.
Well, is Barbie still making money? It is still in theaters.
Both of them are still in.
I don't know how far it got.
What's crazy though is like when you think about it, when you count in like VOD sales, which we never do when we're doing these numbers, once people are paying for it online, not streaming, but actually pay VOD, it'll cross $1 billion easily. So, very, very marketable. It'll be great to see Nolan stay bankable, because I don't know if it would have been hard for him, because Tenet bombed because of post-pandemic, all the hoopla with him in Warner Studios. It will be cool to see that he has kept his name as this prolific director of the time, because most of the director, like when you think about these prolific directors, they're older, right? Like he's still fairly young.
Christopher Nolan.
He's in his 50s. He's not super old.
Yeah, I was I saw some people talking about comparing Zoe Kravitz and Anne Hathaway as Catwoman, and they said one is an emotionally complex, strong female character. The other is a character written by Christopher Nolan. I was like...
That is a very consistent criticism of his movies, that the women are essentially fridged characters, that they're there to advance the plot.
I mean, I didn't think that Anne Hathaway had this, like, throwaway character.
In what role were they talking about that in?
In Catwoman.
Oh, from Catwoman. The Dark Knight Rises, yeah. She gets the best of Batman in a couple of scenes, though. So, it's
What's
fun.
The issue?
It's a Batman movie. It's
right. But I think it's easy to do James Bond well, and it's not as easy to do a female counterpart well now, because everyone has their opinions about it.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for failure from the beginning to do that. Like I said, there was that movie that came out called The 355, and I was just like, no one's gonna go see this movie. It was about three female spies, and nobody cared.
That's a horrible title, though. Yes. Also.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully Nolan gets a chance to do it. It would be great. All right, what would you like to see? Would you like to see cute or cringe of the day?
Let's start with cute of the day.
All right, we got a couple of cute of the days here. First things first, this is from Olivia Claire on Twitter. It says, Chloe being her adorable self.
At least it's not Mocha.
Yeah, I didn't want to put the derpy cat on screen and ruin it for everybody.
I mean,
we're just kidding.
This one is still rather.
That is an almost Bocus-esque.
When Bocus curls up in a ball now, it's like he doesn't have much meat on his bones, so he kind of looks wormy. Yeah,
we love him. We love him though.
But we love him.
All right, and we got one more here. This is from Montana Linderman. Says, more pics of Luke and Leia since Mary wasn't on last time I sent them. I was never a cat guy till I got these two. Now I can't imagine my life without him.
Aw, cute. Love it.
Oh,
pretty.
Very good. Very good.
Pretty black cat.
And no derpy tongues like Mocha.
No tongues.
Okay. All right, guys. Cringe of the day is bad today. I'm just letting you know in advance, and we're gonna have to play it without music.
I haven't seen this yet, but
we're gonna have to play it without music because it is copyrighted. So I'm just giving you guys fair warning that this is a real thing on the internet.
I feel like just with this still alone, we can move on.
No, here we go, guys. Again. If your cringe meter is in danger of maxing out, be careful.
Okay.
Yep.
Why? What? No.
For the people who are listening, women have tied string around their waist and put a hot dog on the end of the string and are attempting to hula hoop it in their mouths because we live in a clown world at the end of an empire very similar to the Roman Empire that men like to think about.
Why would you ever want this of yourself like out there on the internet?
Yeah.
Are their employers not watching? Why? Is this gonna become a trend? Is this already like a TikTok trend?
In the chat, Chief Op-Off says, bring on the asteroid.
Are there other women doing this?
Rustin Noel says, women, am I right?
Why?
Because America, USA, Mary, says King G. Yeah. Ugh. Unknown says, how many crisis parties for Brett to do this? There is not enough crisis parties.
50.
Ever. No, there is not enough.
You can do it fully clothed.
I'm not doing that.
That's an option.
I'm not doing that. So yeah, I've grossed you guys out. It's do you remember somebody says like that water challenge? So Dead Man says it's some kind of bachelorette party. That makes so.
I never understood why bachelorette parties had to be like disgusting, debaucherous orgies.
Or just don't film it. Just don't film it and post it on TikTok.
But why? I don't know. Like, why is it a trend for like at bachelorette parties to have like a penis cake or something? Like, why does everything have to be like gross like that?
Did you see the video? Did we have the video on here of the people who had the bachelorette party and it was like Mickey and Minnie Mouse twerking?
That was not a bachelorette party. No, that was a kid's birthday party.
There was a bachelorette or a bachelor party version of it.
Okay, well at least that's not twerking in a child's face, but I guess they get work.
No, this was a different one where like it was like Mickey and Minnie at like a bachelor party.
Well, speaking of hot dogs, there's also a cringe from Pink.
Oh yeah.
She kicked out one of her concert goers because he was protesting circumcision.
Here we go. Wait, why are you protesting circumcision at a Pink concert?
What did she ever do to you?
Yeah.
I went to, what does that say? What? Oh wow, you're making a whole point right now, aren't you? Yes! Do you feel good about yourself? Are you gonna be all right? You spent all this money to come here and do that?
His phone says circumcision, cruel and harmful.
Birkin bag with that ticket money. Get that shit out of here.
The crowd doesn't even know what she's talking about. They're cheering.
He wants all of you to read it. He came here tonight to talk about circumcision.
I mean, why would you protest at a concert that has nothing to do with it?
I mean, I would understand if like she made public statements about the issue.
I don't think kicking him out was the right thing to do.
What should she have done?
She drew attention to it and made a spectacle out of it.
Well, he was like he was spinning around and showing it to the rest of the crowd like maybe she had to say something. But like, why is this the venue he chose?
He got his point across, I guess.
I guess he wanted to go.
What?
He wanted to go viral.
No dick snipping at this concert, says Pink.
Someone replied, "While it's important to handle such situations with sensitivity, here's a lighthearted and sarcastic response. It seems like our concert tonight just became cutting-edge comedy."
Okay.
But seriously, let's keep the focus on the music, folks.
Exactly. All
That
right,
would have been
guys.
worse.
Let's go ahead. Let's get started, shall we? So, ladies and gentlemen, there was a rumor going around recently, and lots of people have been talking about it, making videos about it, that Rachel Zegler has been fired from her Snow White remake. I am here to tell you that I don't think that is true.
This was on every dubious Disney-related news site.
Inside the Magic is not...
Disney Dining. I'm sure Fandom Wire.
Clownfish TV calls it Inside the Tragic. Not exactly a reliable source.
They reported it saying according to rumors, so at least they made that caveat. But somebody in our chat yesterday was like, guys, didn't you hear Rachel Zegler got axed from Snow White? And we were like, yeah, no, I don't think
that
so.
Movie, the principal photography is done on that movie. They're in.
When you get to that point,
they're making the special effects.
Almost
the movie's
no
budget
shot.
is already $300 million. Is going to be like $300 million. They're not going to start over.
Batgirl had a pretty big budget, and that got axed in the middle of post-production. Granted, this one is supposed to be going to theaters, so it's
and that was a way. I mean, it was still a big. I mean, it was like double the budget of that. But like, what is actually happening is that she has been removed from the film Paddington 3 because of issues relating to the strike and filming in the UK.
People are dying, Kim.
Exactly. So the rumor started on a parody site called Mousetrap a couple months ago, and then it went viral because of this guy who's like a fitness influencer who doesn't really cover this type of stuff. But then,
he just really has a bone to pick with Rachel Zegler.
He just really hates Rachel. I mean, that would be the funniest outcome of this. He just really hates Rachel Zegler. Let's watch the TikTok that started all of this, shall we?
For a moment. She's an actress who did star in the remake of West Side Story by Steven Spielberg. And she's recently been fired from Disney's remake Snow White that she was starring in. Rachel has been problematic really since the beginning of her career. Not only on set, rumors of her behavior and how unlikable she was to
work how
catty
with,
this
is.
But also you can see that privilege and personality come out in some of the interviews in West Side Story. Fortunately for her, because most of those interviews were cast interviews, she slightly went under the radar in terms of how unlikable she was. And she is one of the reasons why there was a lot of controversy in West Side Story. But cut to Disney.
So this goes on for 4 minutes. This is what happened.
This is what he was doing.
This is for Rachel, you big fat, white, nasty smelling fat bitch. Why you took me off the motherfucking schedule with your trifling, dirty, white, racist ass, big ass bitch.
What is this from?
Oompa Loompa body ass bitch. I'm coming and I'm sorry, but I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you, bitch. And don't even try to call the police.
What is this from?
I don't even know what the origin of it is, but this is for Rachel.
So this is what led to the rumors that Snow White was getting recast. That was never going to happen.
But out of solidarity with the SAG strike, she opted out of continuing to film Paddington 3, which nobody even knew was in the making right now. I didn't even know there was a Paddington 2.
Exactly.
So that's news to me. and it just snowballed. Get it?
Yeah.
No pun intended.
I got it.
It just snowballed into the rumor that she was getting fired. But there's just, I knew immediately there's no way that they would ever do that. And it's funny to kind of spread fake news about this movie right now because she doesn't have a platform to disprove any of it because she can't talk about the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was promising at first.
It's
we got a little bit too excited.
It does. Well, I mean, I didn't believe that I didn't believe that at all. Like, I if anything, I was worried. Like, did I miss something big here? But no, that's not what this was here. And I saw in the chat earlier, Dollclick said like, she's not that bad. You guys are making a bigger deal out of it. You're jumping on the bandwagon. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, perception is reality in Hollywood.
I don't think she's actually that bad, but I think her interviews that are being reposted a lot, they are that bad. Yeah. They were really, really bad.
And it proves that you only get one chance to make a good first impression.
One shot, one opportunity.
Exactly. So it's like whether she is that bad in real life is not really relevant in this situation. What matters is, did she knock it out of the park the first time around? Because one of those clips goes viral, and all it takes is people bringing them back up when this stuff comes around, because people are unforgiving.
You don't even need to knock it out of the park in the first interviews about Snow White. All you need to do is just show that you have a cursory knowledge of what the story is and a basic appreciation for it, and rather
not
than
even appreciation,
disdain.
Respect. Like not even appreciation, respect.
Yes, a respect for the source material, and rather than disdain for it. That is the bare minimum. It was very clear from her demeanor that she doesn't like this story.
There was a really good video made by Thorius Unlimited. He's another YouTuber, where he talks about he was reviewing One Piece, and he absolutely loved One Piece. And he cut together these interviews where the lead actor from One Piece goes to meet the creator and the people behind the story. And he's glowing the whole time. He's glowing. He's like, I can't wait to bring this story to life. I have so much respect for the story. I have so much respect for the character. And then it's cut in between all of these clips of Rachel Zegler, who has such disdain and hatred for what she's being told to be the caretaker of. And it's a problem. It's a problem when it's at the helm of a property that's worth this much money. I mean,
honestly,
a lot of people
I wouldn't mind indifference.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Halle Bailey, she just seemed like, I'm just happy to be here. Yeah. Like, I'm just excited to be here. She didn't seem like she particularly cared about The Little Mermaid that much. But she was a nice girl, talented singer, didn't feed into the media frenzy about the race politics.
That was the only one that they had to go with.
And that was the bare minimum that anyone could ask for, and it was fine.
And when we went to review it, we're like, yeah, it was fine.
And it was just as inoffensive as you could imagine it was. Exactly. It was not memorable, but it wasn't terrible either. I'm fine with that. You don't have to be like giving it a glowing review and obsessing over it and be the biggest fan of it in the world. Like, but just don't outwardly insult it and insult your co-stars.
Yeah. And it's that type of behavior has got to be one of those things that a producer and a director and a writer need to start looking at the idea of, does this person have enough of a reach that I can overlook that type of behavior?
She really doesn't. And
she doesn't.
Her track record with other movies, none of them have done well.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, what you know what the funniest outcome of this could possibly be is if they somehow Frankenstein this amazing movie and we didn't see it coming and it ends up being really, really good and we're like, crap! Like,
I mean, if I really enjoy Snow White,
I don't think we will, but
I don't predict that either. Yeah. But if I really enjoy the movie, I'm perfectly happy to admit that. That's fine. But she's not doing it any favors.
I do still wonder whether it will affect the box. Like I said, I saw somebody, we were talking about it yesterday, said, look, the people that didn't go see The Flash, certainly people who might watch this show are already plugged into or care enough about pop culture to watch a show like that, like ours, might be turned off about the idea of going to see a movie starring a creepy Ezra Miller. Yeah. But I don't think that the average moviegoer pays attention to that. And a person who doesn't pay attention to anything going on in pop culture outside of maybe some infographics they get from Us Weekly or Entertainment Tonight aren't going to know that she is the way she is.
The way that normies have like selective attention and when they look at pop culture news. Like, I was talking to my hairdresser about Maren Morris, because we were just talking about Maren Morris making this dramatic exit from country music. my hairdresser likes country music, so I was like, what do you think of her? And she said, she's great. I like her music. She's leaving country music, though. Did you hear? And I was like, yeah. So any thoughts on like what she said about it? And it was like she had the blinders on. She didn't register at all that
there was a
Maren
reason?
Morris's comments about country music were entirely about misogyny, racism, homophobia, transphobia, all the buzzwords. She did not register that at all. The only thing she knows about Maren Morris is I went to a concert of hers a few years ago and it was kind of bad.
Yeah.
Like, I really envy being in that position where I don't have to think about all of the toxicity.
Crazy Cat says, newsflash, Beret says, the Flash bombed, so I guess normies did pick up on that. No, I don't think so. I think people didn't go see Black Adam either.
No
Black
one saw
Adam made
Blue Beetle.
nobody went and saw any of the DC movies are struggling from bad movies.
No one saw Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
DC is struggling from bad movie releases before, causing an influx of negative press.
Marvel is struggling with that too, but they're still on a little bit higher echelon than DC,
well,
so they're able to make
they did enough right for so long that they get more leeway, and even then, not that much. Guardians of the Galaxy did well, but the other releases this year did not. So, but you can only make so many bad movies before people start tuning out. And I think Marvel's problem is beyond that. I think theirs is more to do with the Disney Plus shows destroying the scale and the gravitas of the movies.
There are gonna be DC shows soon,
well,
right?
I know that
those are in the works.
Yeah, and I know that the Penguin show is still being made. It's obviously not right now, but yeah. So who would you cast then? If not,
We were
Rachel
talking
Zegler.
about this. We were gonna do this for the poll, but we couldn't figure it out. Should Jenna Ortega replace Rachel Zegler?
If they're gonna do a Latina actress if this was true, if this wasn't bunkum, if all of this story wasn't BS, who would you replace Rachel Zegler with? Chat, thoughts? I would like to know who the chat would replace
Jenna
Rachel Zegler
Ortega
with.
would be the most popular pick.
If
I didn't know that Olivia Rodrigo was not in fact Latina.
Okay.
She's Filipina. So she's off the list, I guess. Selena Gomez would have been in the running 10 years ago. I really thought Mackenzie Foy would be the perfect Snow White, who is like a Gen Z actress. She's not Latina though, so she can't get cast.
Yeah.
Who else?
Wouldn't be surprised if they did Millie Bobby Brown. They could have done.
She's not Latina though.
I'm pitching wide.
Wait, hasn't Millie Bobby Brown played a princess already? She has a movie that's going out on Netflix called Damsel.
Annie still in the chat says Jenna Ortega, Olivia Rodrigo.
Yep.
The Wolfman
When I
says
think
Britney
Zoomer
Spears.
Latina actress, those are the three that come up in my mind.
Yep. Dour memes in the chat says Dylan Mulvaney.
Stormy Daniels, come on, guys. Lizzo, Elliot Page.
I think Millie Bobby Brown. Originally, the other idea I had was
If Millie Bobby Brown would be any better in the press.
Wouldn't she?
No.
Wouldn't she?
I don't think so.
She's like, I'm getting married. I love Snow White. I found my Prince Charming. She could say cheesy stuff like
her
that.
Husband.
They could
Is
do
she
stuff
married
like that.
yet, or is she just engaged?
She's engaged.
Okay.
Left field says Aubrey Plaza. Yeah, honestly, 10 years ago, if they I wouldn't be surprised if Hollywood tried to do LOL so random Snow White and cast Aubrey Plaza.
That doesn't sound good to me.
I don't know. There's a bunch of the McKenna Grace. I thought could have done it. She might be too young. She's 7. I mean, how old is Snow White's like 14 in the play,
yeah,
right?
but they're not actually gonna cast a kid.
But by the time that the movie went to principal photography, if they hired her now, McKenna Grace would be old enough. She was from Ghostbusters Afterlife. In the chat, Russell says Betty White.
You said Dove Cameron.
No.
But she should play She should play like Princess Peach if there were a live action Princess Peach.
Yes. P. Tran says Chloe Grace Moretz. That probably would have been an option at one point, but she's got
everyone's just gonna make fun of her legs.
They're like, why are you so disproportioned? It doesn't make any sense.
It's so mean, actually. It is.
I do like the idea that they're gonna Jacob Edler. She's 17. It said. So by the time they got to,
she was like 14 in the original story.
No, he's saying McKenna Grace is 15.
Oh, okay.
I think she was 15 when they made Ghostbusters Afterlife. But by the time they went to get this movie, if they started over now, she would be 18 by that period. And so if she's 14 in the play and they did it true to age, they could have cast McKenna Grace in that role. But there's a bunch of them. So he says, how about Ron Perlman? That'd be great. Ron Perlman can play Snow White. He's got the white hair.
Very innocent looking.
Yes, he's a very innocent looking guy. What about you, Mary? Could you play Snow White?
No.
No? You'd be too busy, like, annoyed with the prince?
I don't think I could do that. I wasn't really a drama kid either.
Did you do any theater classes or anything like that? Nothing like that?
No.
No? You do Cast Castle, so that's okay.
I wasn't really attracted to the crowd that the drama club attracted.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Super Chats. We got some Super Chats in there.
Courier626 said, alms for the poor. Thank you. Leonardo DiCaprio said, bring out your dead. Don't know what that means. DC&C said, extra shots of the empty chair, please.
How long did I leave the empty chair on screen?
It was only a few seconds.
Okay, they're like mogging me for something that was barely on there at all.
Do you know what mogging means?
Yes, because Kellen mogs me in the chat all the time.
Okay.
There it is, empty chair.
Yeah.
There you go,
maybe
guys.
the empty chair can just stay with us for the Super Chats.
Yeah.
How about that? John Stewart said, clarification has begun. If you know, you know. If no, you know.
I know what they're in reference to. Olivia Claire has taken over Bert's cult, and they're all changing their name in the Discord to their name and then Claire. I said if Olivia Claire wanted to prove her true power over the cult, what she would do is she would help us get 4 crisis parties today by having the various cult members donate to get us to 4 crisis parties. So if you want to prove your allegiance to the cult, you guys could go ahead and do that. That would be fine.
Shane H. Wilder said the empty PCC empty chair. Okay, you said empty twice. Sounds friendlier than Clint Eastwood's empty chair.
So you should do that voice more often.
What voice?
When it was on the empty chair.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's hold off on the rest and we will come back after the fact. Let's go ahead and move on. Tell us what's going on with Kathy Griffin.
Okay. Kathy Griffin is rejoicing at Russell Brand's downfall, getting dragged through the media, having these serious allegations thrown at him. And she says it's about time. It has been too long for this quote-unquote sleazebag to get away with his behavior. And she even claimed that he SA'd one of her friends and told this story about him at an AA meeting where this allegedly occurred. Let's take a look at it. She's still yammering on TikTok, doing whatever it takes to get engagement on that platform.
Here we go.
Still looking good with the hair.
I am actually excited
about
the news getting out about Russell Brand. I mean, it has taken forever to catch up with that sleazebag. Forever.
Could you just pause for a second? This is like the Harvey Weinstein situation, is it not? The celebrity saying it's taken way too long for this guy to get thrown behind bars. You're admitting that you were complicit in their behavior the entire time. You're admitting that you knew they were on a rampage of victimizing people, and you were perfectly happy to be silent about it while in a position of power and with a platform where you could speak about it. So
there is a very big super chat there from Erates OO.
He said, I'm doing my part. Salute.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
He set us back now because now we're gonna have 2 crises.
Is there a glitch?
Well, no, because he said it, so it went and did 2 at once. So I'm gonna have to set 1 manually.
Okay, that's that one.
We are almost to 4. We're halfway there. It's party time. Yes.
Someone said that Kathy Griffin looks like she French kissed a wall socket.
If she had a tongue ring.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, are we gonna wait for the second one?
No, we'll keep going. It'll
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
So keep going.
Oh, I mean, I was done with my point.
Well,
there,
no,
but, like,
the point is accurate, right? Is that they're always like, look, it's about time
Right,
they got
like,
their comeuppance.
after Me Too popped off, everyone in Hollywood who knew about Harvey Weinstein being a predator was gloating about this, like him getting
knew
exposed.
all along.
I knew all along that he was doing this, and I'm just so glad that he finally got his comeuppance, and they're basically admitting that they were part of the problem of systemic abuse being allowed in the entertainment industry. And here Kathy Griffin is doing the exact same thing.
Yep.
So
let's keep going.
continue.
So it never happened to me. I met him one time. I was on his talk show. That was it. And guys like that don't usually come for me because they think of me as a dude. So in that way, I'm actually lucky because they still can't conceive that a woman tells jokes and that she might want to
Because they mistake me for Carrot Top, so.
But like, I have a girlfriend that was at an AA meeting, and he was the speaker. And afterwards, she went to shake his hand for a good share, which is very common.
Technically, she's outing him as well. She's not outing her friend who was at the AA meeting, but she's outing him at the AA meeting.
I thought it was public info that
Was it?
he was in AA.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. You're still sharing something that happened at a meeting.
Oh, is that entirely like not allowed?
You're not supposed to. No.
Okay.
Thomas,
We got a
I'm looking
$20 one from Olivia Clare. Setting an example for the Clarecast cult, HCB and I will lead our people tirelessly. However, I don't appreciate the Mocha slander or the Chloe
There
slander.
was no Chloe
I can
slander.
handle Mocha being a derp, but Chloe is adorable.
Nobody slandered Chloe. We completely left Chloe alone.
I mean, I did say that she looks slightly derpy as well. So.
Well,
I mean, it's not slander if it's true.
I only think Mocha's derpy. So that's just
Okay.
my opinion. Here we go. Let's keep going.
going to AA, but the anonymity is key. And she said that he just came right up to her, got in her face, pushed his groin against hers, and was trying to be, like, this is an AA meeting, was trying to be, I'm not even going to say trying to be funny, it's just gross. But it tells you, like, the mindset of so many of these comics. And I just want to point out, like, there's so many more coming. There's so many more coming.
You first,
And
Kathy.
Look, it's with actors
Tell
as
us.
well. And I just want to be a little bit lighthearted because you don't hear this shit about Dame Judy. I'll do this joke again. You don't hear this crap
got a little
about
tongue
Dame
twister
Judi
there.
Dench. Like, you don't hear, like, Julie.
Now the Judi Dench part is it's funny because she's old, right? But in general, when these things happen to men, when women are sexually aggressive with men and men complain, they're laughed at and they're said, and guys say, "Man, I wish that was me." Like you're
So,
not.
I mean,
you're
guys
not,
are part of that problem.
You're not
as
taken
well.
seriously if you come out
But
and
let's
say
be
that.
honest, I'm sure that the share of male comedians that have engaged in creepy behavior is larger than the share of the female comedians. Like, that's
Yes. Yeah.
pretty self-explanatory. Not the point, though. What I'm saying is, Kathy
She's
Griffin.
clout chasing.
Kathy Griffin, if you are capable of name dropping people who are on rampages of abusing and victimizing people in the entertainment industry, and you're choosing to stay silent about it, and you're letting other people do the work, what are you doing?
Yep.
What is that about?
And that's the name of the game for a lot of them. They see all of these things not as crimes to be righted, but as ammo for them to use for
Right.
future points in their career.
I wanted to
right?
finish her video if we can.
Yep.
Leanne Moore is sexually assaulting somebody. And let me just talk about female comics because that's obviously what I know. But like when you're a female comic, honestly, we're all pretty similar. Like we want to do a really good show. Maybe you invite friends to your show.
Well, I want $1 million. We can't always get what we want.
Female comics tend not to have like a posse or a crew that travels with them unless they're like opening and there's a reason. But, you know, we don't have spotters. Like the guys have spotters. And I mean like almost all of them have spotters. So that's somebody that's one of their bros who picks out a girl in the audience like before the show, that is the comics type to get like a afterwards, that sort of thing. And I just want to point something else out.
A handshake afterwards.
In defense of my sister comedians. And I'm saying this about Russell Brand as someone who got canceled in a way that he could only live in fear of.
Boo-hoo.
Like, seriously, you guys. I was canceled for a protest photo, but I was investigated by the Department of Justice and put on the no-fly list. Like, it's not even a comparison, so I'm sure he'll be, like, complaining about it and whining about it, but he'll be fine. All the guys will be fine. Trust me.
She's minimizing.
You know, the gravity of Kathy Griffin's quote-unquote cancellation is not the same as what's happening to Russell Brand at all.
Not even close.
Now when I see coverage of something Kathy Griffin is doing, she doesn't get hyperlinked about her notorious Trump beheading photo. Mm-hmm. She doesn't have that really mentioned anymore. The media actually fawns over her for it.
I just thought this was funny. I looked up female celebrities accused of sexual assault, and you know what comes up?
Is Lizzo on it?
All Russell Brand.
Interesting.
Google's not answering the question, ladies and gentlemen. Google is ignoring the question.
I mean, I think Amy Schumer has.
Yep. Or Lizzo, or like it's to me it annoys me in the same way that when a female female teacher is arrested for having sex with a student. No, she's committing a crime, but it's minimized.
I'll have like armies of people behind them that are actively working to bring them back constantly, and you know, you just don't hear this stuff about Amy Schumer and Chelsea Handler and Sarah Silverman and Wanda Sykes. Like, what you hear about the women is not in this category. Like, there is that girl, Colleen Ballinger, that played a character called Miranda Sings, which was a special needs character to begin with, so I am not sticking up for her.
Props for mentioning that, I guess.
Very unusual for a female, but like I feel like she's being called out and there's a lot of receipts. But you know what you hear about my contemporaries, the women I named? And yes, I call them my contemporaries. I hope they're not insulted. But you hear that they're like difficult, or the B word, or the other B word, bossy or whatever. And you hear that like the one I get all the time is expensive and difficult because I'm always fighting to try to get what the guys get. But you should know, like in the female comedy world, it is constantly an uphill battle because honestly, how many of your straight guy friends, your husband, whatever, would choose with their straight guy buddies to go see a female comedian on their own? Let's be honest.
They wouldn't, because that does not make them bad people. It just means that they're not interested in what you're selling.
Look,
if your audience is women and gay men, you're shrinking your target demographic.
Okay, but that's still over half the population, and Kathy Griffin and a lot of these big name female comedians are living lives of luxury off of their careers. Kathy Griffin lives in a luxury gated community in Calabasas next to the Kardashians off of her comedy business. Okay, so I don't want to hear that things could be better for you. You have it pretty damn good. And, you know, she likes her audience. What's the problem? Male comedians that have majority male audiences don't complain about how women don't go to their shows.
I mean, there's kind of that same, like I said, there was that same discussion that's had about being an attractive comedian. Like the comedian Jeff Dye did this thing at an interview where they said, like, has it been an uphill battle for you in comedy because you're traditionally handsome? He said, no, it's helped me a lot more than it's hurt me. It's helped me get movie roles. It's helped me get traditional acting stuff, right? Like, the idea is that different professions have different demographics. It would be like it's like being an ugly, like most secretaries are not ugly in the professional world, right? Like you'll get old secretaries, but that's
pretty privileged.
Yes, it is, right?
Which, unlike a lot of forms of privilege that are talked about, actually does have an impact on how people treat you.
Somebody mentioned Roseanne. Roseanne is a comedian people would go to see. Chrissy Mayer
is came to mind. I would pay to see her. Like, there are exceptions, but everyone knows that
Or
there
maybe
are more funny and successful male comedians because men are socialized to prioritize things like being funny over other things.
It's also interesting because, like, look, when a male comedian self-deprecates, he's calling into question his own inadequacies. When the females, when somebody like Kathy Griffin talks about this, she's laying that blame at the feet of other people, not at herself. When a comedian jokes about being ugly or not being funny or not being this or that, he's laying the blame at his own feet. When Kathy Griffin says, I don't make enough money because people don't find me funny, it's not because she's saying she's not funny. She's saying it's because you're a sexist, bigot, istophobe who is the problem, which is inherently not funny anyways and isn't a good time. It's not funny. It's not fun. It's not something people want to be around. I don't want to be lectured.
She names the most obnoxious female comedians. Chelsea Handler, Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer. Nobody likes these people.
Yeah, not in years.
I don't think any of these people are
Tina Fey. I don't know if Tina Fey
has her moments, but she didn't name her in there.
But Tina Fey is. It's like when people talk about like women being in roles of power in Hollywood. Said, look, Tina Fey has built an empire for herself and done very well.
Amy Poehler's funny.
I mean, we can go back to it. Like I've got a soft spot for Tina Fey because of 30 Rock.
Yes.
So, you know, it's just when they complain about it and they blame the inadequacies on other people, it doesn't engage the audience. It doesn't make people want to be to listen to you more. It would be like
I mean, Amy Schumer is out here on stage talking about how like my pee smells like a barnyard animal, and where's the punchline?
Yeah.
Also, like you're just being as vulgar as possible to shock people.
That is a big part
into laughing out of being uncomfortable. Yeah. It's not a joke. Also, stand-up isn't really conducive to the ways that women are capable of being funny anyway.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of funny women out there, but you don't really see it in the medium of stand-up.
The vulgar humor has run its course.
Like, I mean, even from men, I don't care for it. Yeah. That's not the style of humor that I'm into. But like, stand-up isn't conducive to helping funny women be funny.
There was a time when vulgar humor was novel and new. Like, oh, look at this woman making. Now, I never found that type of humor particularly interesting, but other people did.
That
and
trope
that's fine.
has just been hammered so much that it doesn't hit anymore. Like maybe in the previous century, that would have been shocking and funny.
Yeah.
Now we're over it.
Like I said, Tina Fey is funny to me because of 30 Rock, which was before Hollywood became as awful as it is now. Like watching 30 Rock now is actually kind of shocking.
Women are also funnier in scripted comedy than stand-up.
Yes. In general, like
scripted like skits and things
at least that's my opinion. Right now, we did put a poll up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's end the poll so I can't be accused at the end of the show of not doing so. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, with 62% of the vote. They say women are not funny.
Okay, that's not what they said. They said they wouldn't pay to see a female comedian, Brett.
Okay.
But it's a relatively balanced poll.
60-30? I guess. 60-40?
Yeah, I was expecting it to be more lopsided than that.
Negative YouTube says...
I voted yes because there are exceptions.
Chrissy Mayer is an exception. Roseanne would be an exception for a lot of them. So, you know... it's fine, but Kathy Griffin.
I certainly wouldn't include Kathy Griffin on that list.
And the reason this bothers me isn't because it's because she's just like, what's in the news? Do I have any life stories that are relevant to this popular story that will get me views on the internet?
She had that waiting in the chamber until the very moment where it became relevant. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't interest me, and it's.
This is about her vendetta against male comedians who are competitors with her in her space.
Yeah.
This is not about her wanting justice for the alleged victims.
I don't think Chelsea Handler was ever funny, but that's just me. That's my personal opinion.
But this is certainly not like a moral crusade for Kathy Griffin. She's just, name dropping people for clout and wanting to badmouth her competitors.
Oh, yes, Andrina's right. There is a YouTuber, an Instagram comedian, a girl named Musings of a Crouton, who's legitimately one of she is incredible.
There are a lot of girls like that who use social media skits, and they're like really funny.
Musings of, okay, so she did a couple recently. She's what she literally calls herself, like an agent of chaos. So she did
You also mentioned Stormy G.
Yes, hers is hooker humor. It's amazing, but like there's skits, right?
Yes.
So Musings of a Crouton did 2 like Joe Biden mock Joe Biden interviews in a row. I'm like, this is weird, because normally she doesn't get heavily political. But then as soon as she got done with that, she did like a Fox News, like she did it going the other way, and she does very, very good. She does these like skits about like every female on an alpha. Let me see if I can like every
female
woman
on a what?
on an alpha male podcast, or every. I wonder if I can find it here. Hold on, let me see if it's on here. Musings.
I would like to have Musings of a Crouton on the show.
Oh yeah, I reached
know.
out. I never got an answer back.
I don't know if
from
she'll
her.
say yes. She'll be like, "You're an alpha male podcast."
She would probably say that about something we made here. But she also does this series where it's like, what if we met at the thing, and she describes the most ridiculous situations ever. It's the hold on. Let me see if I can find at least one from the Joe Biden ones. I don't.
We're like desperately trying to prove that women can be funny.
Hold on. Oh, that's the when you fast forward.
Good evening, Mr. President. Thank you for making time for this interview. Lollapalooza. I'm going to ignore that because I need the ratings. Regarding sending arms to the Ukraine, could you put Lil Wayne? What? No, I said Ukraine. I met Lil Wayne when we were both off of the scissor at one of Young Money's diddle parties. And Birdman's bald-headed self was banging on the windows. I was snorting a line off of this one broad C-section scar. And I said, you know, you colored people really know how to party. Good evening, Mr. President.
She's very good.
What would you rate yourself? Scale of 1 to 10. Quickly. I'd say I'm like a 3.789. That seems about right. Oh, you're not gonna disagree? Why would I? Oh, yeah, I've keyed my man's car before. You know, like I've called in a bomb threat in his name, but, you know, I was just joking. I'm just a free spirit. I'm a Virgo, I'm a felon, I love to giggle, and I feel like if you were a real man, you would be able to handle that. I just feel like you are a toxic female, and that's why men don't want you. Girl, you know that after all this, you're still not gonna get picked, right? These horny troglodytes that probably galloped to this studio on all fours are going to elbow girls like you out of the way to get to girlies like me. Let's just be real. No, all this tap dancing, and for what? For buns? That is not always true. You know why you're...
I want to watch like a full-length podcast of just this girl talking to herself.
She has like longer form videos. It's harder content to do, but I like her a lot. So like you just have to do your own thing, right? In the mainstream setup doesn't really
maybe
lend
stand
itself.
up is antiquated now.
I mean, not. I mean, when it's done well, it's fine. But I just feel like that's not the way. Like that's also about being there and judging. Like judging a special is not the same thing as judging one that you've actually seen in person. Mm-hmm. So, all right, let's go to Super Chats.
Dour Memes said, in a world of Rachel Zeglers and Hassan Pikers, be a Marion Brett, please.
Yes, of course. That's what you should do.
Those are our one-to-one comparisons.
Those are your only choices.
Shane H. Wilder said the 1975 going on indefinite hiatus. Oh, the humanity. LOL.
She also has she also had one of these ones where she talked about like the most offensive race swaps she would approve of in a movie, and she's like Ben Shapiro as Snow White or something like that.
I can see that. Yeah, I'd support that. Shane H. Wilder said, Mary, British people aren't real. They're figments of our imagination, fueled by too much Charles Dickens and Jane Austen.
That makes sense.
That's a comforting thought.
That makes sense.
200 Watt Studio said, MySpace was a great place to date. Dangerous Dave.
Yeah, like I said.
Dangerous Dave did some MySpace dating, I guess.
Hold on, I want to watch this one. Hold on.
honor of our highly valuable Nicobi American viewers, we're expanding the slavery/civil rights torture porn universe, starting with Jordan Peele's Harriet Tubman, Cracker Slayer, and the sequel to the smash hit 12 Years a Slave, 13 Years a Slave, He Gets Caught Again. But hey, we also believe in black joy, which is why coming in fall of 2025, an all-black remake of the comedy classic 3 Men and a Baby, titled Whose White Baby Is This? This feels like a trap. In honor of our...
That was good.
Okay.
DC
All right,
and
do one more.
DC and C said, pilots on coke, surely you can't be serious. I'm dead serious and don't call me Shirley.
Exactly. Okay, let's
And then he said British theme? I don't know what that means. Is there a British theme song?
Well, what would the British theme song be? I guess do they have a national anthem? I have no idea.
They?
Is it just an Oasis song? Is it the Beatles?
It's Long Live the Queen.
There you go.
With Champagne Supernova playing in the background.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. All right, guys, I want to talk a little bit about the writer's strike coming to an end. There was a bunch of details. I know it drives Mary nuts that I care about this stuff. I want to go through a little bit.
I know it's a big deal.
Yeah, it matters.
But
it matters.
Just industry stuff.
Yeah, so we've got a summary of the writer's strike, the minimum bargaining agreement that has been reached between the studios and all of the writers and the union. So it's interesting because there's two schools of thought here. So Dallas Sonnier, he said that the deal isn't really much different than what the one pitched 5 months ago was, with a couple of caveats to it.
So they basically got what they wanted.
For the most part, he said.
They got the last laugh.
He thinks that the deal shouldn't have taken this long. Breitbart seems to think that they got closer to what they wanted on this. So let's go through a little bit on some of the finer points here. They got
minimum increases in pay and future residual earnings from shows.
So this is what Dallas said. He goes, "It's the right deal somewhere. It's the right deal somewhere in the middle of bad and great. I feel for the nihilists who thought they were going to take it to the AMPTP and make them pay, or ban AI outright, or get room minimums of 5 or more, but they were always delusional. It is substantially similar to the last AMPTP offer from August. It would be a better deal if it was made 6 months ago or 3 months ago, but I guess the studios had to get all those bad deals off the books." So this here says, this is somebody from Deadline says, "This is a bunch of happy horse shit. This contract is fine. It's basically the Directors Guild agreement deal with meaningful gains for feature screenwriters and arbitrary backstops for AI and staffing," meaning that they're putting caps on what AI can do and minimum staffing requirements, which is actually one of the parts I find the most annoying.
Yes.
That you get to tell them how many people they have to hire.
But also how long you have to be hired for a show.
It says the DGA started negotiating 14 months before their contract to avoid strike. The WGA decided they were going to strike no matter what and told their members to insult the AMPTP. The DGA and anyone who didn't fall in line with the caustic language and BS existential crisis. And that's the heart of the matter, right? At the end of the day, everyone looked at the writers and is still looking at the actors like they're insufferable know-it-alls who want everything their way and don't want to make any concessions, while also not being responsible for the work if it fails.
Yeah, but a lot of the writers are saying that they wouldn't have gotten this deal had SAG not joined in the strikes.
Yeah, dual strike.
And then the SAG people are saying, well, now that they've gotten a good deal that they wanted, it looks more likely for us too. I did want to mention the AI regulations that they agreed on. It says, under this contract, raw AI-generated storylines will not be regarded as literary material.
That was never going to happen.
A term in their contracts for scripts and other story forms a screenwriter produces. This means they won't be competing with computers for screen credits, nor will AI-generated stories be considered source material for novels, video games, or other works that writers may adapt into scripts.
So this is what they wanted. It says regulate use of artificial intelligence on MBA covered projects. AI can't write or rewrite literary material, can't be used as source material on MBA covered material, can't be used to train AI. This is what they got. And
okay,
that's what
but if you use AI as your source material for like the skeleton of a script that you end up writing, no one can prove that you did or didn't do that. And it is in fact the source material for your idea. It's not your idea.
Yeah. And then,
so no one can actually enforce that AI isn't going to be used for source material.
There was that ruling from a judge recently that said that AI scripts are not copyright eligible. So what you'd have to do is have the program ChatGPT, whatever it is. I'm sure they have more advanced versions now. Write a baseline script and then have to have a script editor or a writer go through it once and put their own touch on it to make it a copyrightable material.
Now, if they do that. Yeah. Once they put their own rewrites or human additions to it,
there's a $20 one.
No
there
one will.
From Cheap Off.
He said, "Love y'all." Just a little contribution here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are more than half of the way to 4 crisis parties to prove your loyalty to the Claires. We're getting there. So that was a big part of it. Also here, this is what the developing room premium rates for up to 19 weeks. So remember, if you're a staff writer, up to a year, that is a weekly rate of $6,959.
That's so outrageous.
So story editor, $12,978. Writer producer, $14,214, and this is where they didn't get quite what they wanted. So minimum amount of writers per room. 6 or fewer episodes is a minimum of 3, with a minimum of 3 producers in the writer's room. 7 to 12 episodes, minimum of 5 writers, minimum of 3 producers. 13 episodes plus, minimum of 6 writers, minimum of 3 producers. Now, what they wanted for this is they wanted the 6 number across the board. They wanted a minimum of 6 writers on all
I thought it was even more than that. They were like, we need minimum 20 writers per episode or else you're oppressing us.
Yeah. So, and then this is insane. Writer producer weekly minimums. Up to 9 weeks, $11,371 a week. Up to from 10 to 19 weeks, $9,470. Obviously, as you work for a more extended period of time, it goes down slightly. 20 plus weeks at $8,524 a week.
This is nuts.
It's a lot of money
That is just outrageous. Where are the numbers coming from?
And those
How
numbers,
is this calculated? It's just they're pulling these numbers out of their ass.
The numbers for those minimums are very much close to what they were initially bargained for several months ago, right? So 13 episodes will get you 6 writers, no to everything above 6. Now they wanted a minimum raise of 5 to 6%. What they got was 2.5 to 5%.
It was 3.5 to 5.
No, I thought it said 2 point. The studio,
they got the compromise deal was a raise of between 3.5% and 5%.
Yes. Okay. So
and they also are going to get more in residuals if the show that they write ends up blowing up, which makes sense to me, at least, to incentivize them writing things that aren't heaping piles of garbage.
Yeah, you want to.
It will incentivize them to make something successful, and I don't think that they've been incentivized to do that.
Yes. Here's the problem. You're not the studios are not incentivized now because look, they don't want to hire. They want more episodes. They're not going to want to do more episodes if it's going to make them hire more writers.
They're more likely to cancel things early, which is what everyone has been crying and stomping their feet about.
They're going to cancel things sooner. They're going to make one of the things they've been complaining about is limited run series. Well, if you're going to make them staff 6 writers for 13 or more episodes, why the hell would they want to do 13 episodes? Do 12 episodes. Do 10 episodes.
Overall, I find this development disappointing because I was hoping that both strikes would go into next year and just continue in perpetuity as long as humanly possible. But I think they're going to start negotiating with SAG next, and they're going to get the last laugh too. Yeah. But it's been a good run, y'all.
No, that's
I just saw the celebrity auction thing where they're all pooling together auction money to give to healthcare costs for below line workers. One is Caitlyn Jenner will run over your nemesis with her car.
I really dislike
a game of 20 questions with Sarah Silverman.
I would literally pay for none of these.
I would make them pay me to do that.
I'm very I'm more annoyed by more than any of the thing on there, more than the AI, more than the residuals. The idea that they get to micromanage for the people paying the money, how many writers get hired really, really bothered me. Now, the other thing that I thought was interesting was this part here about streaming data transparency. It says the companies agree to provide the guild, subject to a confidentiality agreement, the total numbers of hours streamed, both domestically and internationally, of self-produced, high-budget streaming programs like a Netflix original series. The guild may share information with the membership in aggregated form. I would love to know how they're going to even be able to prove the numbers that they gave them are accurate. Like, what is the method of distribution that proves that the numbers that streaming service provides the guild are the actual numbers?
Well, the numbers that these streaming services give to their own investors and to the IRS are fake.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they would be any more honest when it comes to paying the writers.
And at the end of the day, like, who gets to decide? Like, they need to find a better way to figure out where the money is, like what people are watching beyond just streams played, right? So, unfortunately, back in the day when you had ad revenue, you had a vast pool of money coming in, going to different things specifically. Now it all pulls from one pool, which is your membership, is your amount of people subscribing. Right? So, like, I wonder if some of these shows would eventually decide to do something where they, like, ask to be given ads. Like, make a show designed for ads and just sell your stuff to Tubi.
Let's bring back commercial breaks.
That's what's going to happen, right? It's just going to end up going full circle.
Yeah.
Because a lot of shows that I love have ended up going to, like, Tubi or to Freevee because there's more ad revenue, there's more to be gained by going on these streaming services where they know they'll do well because people will actually be watching it. Like imagine if they put Seinfeld on an ad tier one. It would make a crap ton of money.
True.
Because people actually want to watch Seinfeld or The Office. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a whole ton of money to be made on those. Somebody mentions product placement. Yeah, that was some of the worst. Like, when I watched that first episode of Citadel and there was a Grubhub bag just positioned, like, right here in front of them as they're talking. And the worst part is it's like a CGI Grubhub bag, meaning like the bag was there, but they put the logo on after the fact. And it was just like, it never bothered me when Michael Bay would do it because it was always funny. Like a Transformer flipping over a Mountain Dew vending machine was hilarious.
Does that work for the tone of something like Citadel?
No, it doesn't. Like a Michael Bay movie, seeing Bumblebee flipped over a Mountain Dew vending machine literally made me laugh out loud.
That's like seeing a product placement for Burger King in the Continental. Like, it's just not... Yeah, it doesn't work.
Well, and that's so funny too because that was a big bone of contention in Iron Man in the first Iron Man movie, where Iron Man he's been stuck captive in like the Middle East for 6 months, and he gets back and his big thing is like, I'm gonna go get an American burger, and he gets a Burger King burger, and everyone's like, you come back to America and you just
don't go to McDonald's, you fraud.
You hold up a Burger King burger. That was like the most ultimate.
I thought he would have like developed a taste for halal.
You would have thought that by that point, right? He would have wanted that.
Quick, take me to the nearest halal market.
It will be interesting to see what the actors get from their deal here. Again, I don't think they're going to get their way with the AI. I think that AI is still going to make a lot of inroads into into this stuff, and they're going to end up paying in the long run. It's also interesting that they mentioned that the Writers Guild acted in good faith. They started their negotiations a year before the strike so they could actually get it done.
And then SAG just kind of hitched their wagon.
Yeah.
And waited until somebody else started it.
It says writers also got a guarantee that staffs on show in initial development will be employed for at least 10 weeks. So a show that might not even make it to screen. So think about what's a show that ended up. So think you're on imagine Batwoman or Batgirl was a show rather than a movie, and they develop it, and they spend 10 weeks in script writing where they're making a minimum of like $11,000
a week.
Yeah. Okay,
That's industry bloat.
just to have a show that might or might. How often do we see shows get canceled before they even come out? All the time. Things get scrapped all the time for tons of reasons.
Or things that get removed from the streaming service after the fact.
And that's the other thing, dude. They'll just pull stuff down.
Yeah.
Like before,
Because they don't want to pay you residuals anymore. They're more likely to take your work off of the service.
or they're going to sell it off.
They're just like not logical people.
Yeah.
They're just people who don't think.
Yep.
They don't know what they would feel like if they didn't have breakfast this morning.
Yep. It's crazy, dude. It's just it'll see where it goes. Brett, there was also a Mountain Dew Transformer in the first movie. It shot Mountain Dew. I don't remember that, and I love that movie. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that because that's one of my favorite. I love the first Transformers movie. So if that's true, I love it even more. It's even better. All right, let's. We got a couple of super chats there.
Leonardo DiCaprio said Tomorrow Never Dies was a prescient film.
Prescient film, right? Prescient film.
Is that how you're supposed to say it?
I think so. Look, I wonder if it would be like a climate change theme there. With he's like the thing. It's such a great bad guy. He's got an evil space laser sun weapon.
It's prescient, Brett. It's definitely prescient.
Okay, I don't know what that means. I know what prescient means, but I don't know what prescient.
It's the same word.
Okay,
That's just how you're supposed to say it.
I've never pronounced it that way. Maybe I'm wrong, but like that movie was not good. But I did like Rosamund Pike in that movie, and I did think Halle Berry, not Halle Bailey. It was funny watching her try to do like the Bond girl come out of like the slow motion splashing out of the ocean, and she goes to like push her hair out of her eyes, but her hair's short, so it doesn't really do anything. And you're like, well, that didn't really have the same effect. It also proves that Hollywood hasn't changed that much, because even her character in that movie, her character's name is Jinx in that movie, and she was supposed to get her own spin-off because, of course, they're like, look at it, she's a strong, independent woman. We better make our own spin-off. That spin-off never happened. That was never going to happen.
DCNC said, next time you have trouble explaining woke, just say Rachel Zegler.
There you go. Perfect. $20 one there from Tony Guevara. Exactly.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Very insightful comment.
It's,
Johnny Beck sent us a thumbs up.
Yeah,
thank you.
Do one more.
DCNC said OC cult.
I can't see it.
It just says OC cult.
It's the Olivia Claire cult. I thought it was the Claire cult. It was the Claires. The cult of Claires. It's the cult of Claires, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hold off on the rest and let's come back. Tell us what's going on with Laurence Fox.
So Laurence Fox was recently doing a TV appearance where he went on an anti-feminist, some call it sexist rant against a famous feminist journalist named Ava Santina. He is British, so I'll preface that. He said, who would shag her? And, it's not in great taste to say that. But like, how about we give the context for what he said? She essentially trivialized male suicide rates. And that's an issue that, since she's a feminist, she should take very seriously, because this is an issue that affects a certain gender disproportionately. And she said, oh no, it's actually that you're overlooking female suicide rates because they're just less successful.
Well, that is true. Women are worse at doing things than men. No,
her appearance made her look horrible. Laurence Fox's appearance arguably made him look pretty bad. I thought it was funny though. Let's play the video.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Because they're once again under fire for allowing the hard-left commentator Ava Santina to mock and smirk during comedian Jeff Norcott's emotional plea for a minister.
First I gotta ask, does Laurence Fox look at all like Hunter Biden?
I don't think so.
Okay. He played Hunter Biden in the movie My Son Hunter.
For men, which he hopes could fight the epidemic, really, of male suicide currently ravaging the UK. Watch what happened.
If you flip those things, i.e. that it's the biggest cause of death for men under 50 is suicide, men are less likely to go to the doctors, men are less likely to maintain friendships. If that was for women, we'd often look at, well, why is society making that happen? Whereas with men, the argument is often, why are they doing that to themselves?
I think that it feeds into the culture a little bit, this Minister for Men argument. And I think, you know, a lot of ministers kind of bandy this about to sort of, I'm sorry, but make an enemy out of women.
I mean, literally, the biggest killer of men under 50 is suicide. That is an arresting statistic, and if that doesn't warrant specific attention, mental health is an umbrella issue.
I have to say that is also because women are unsuccessful. That is a lot of, feeds into that statistic.
Laurence, just total disdain there.
Man, what wave of feminism are we on?
Now pay attention to Dan Wooten's face and his reactions here.
So I can say this. Show me a single self-respecting man that would like to climb into bed with that woman, ever, who wasn't an incel, who wasn't a cucked little incel. That little woman has been fed, spoon-fed oppression day after day after day after day, starting with the lie of the gender wage gap. And she sat there, and I'm going like, if I met you in a bar and that was like sentence 3, chances of me just walking away are just huge. We need powerful, strong, amazing women who make great points for themselves. We don't need these sort of feminist 4.0. They're pathetic and embarrassing. Who'd want to shag that?
Oh, Laurence. Well, look, she...
Sorry,
he is clearly tickled by Laurence's comments.
She did actually respond to this earlier today, saying that she regretted her comments, but she didn't apologise. Yes, so there you go.
You think he's? I think he's actually uncomfortable with it. I think it's partially that he's uncomfortable with it being said on air.
All right, but wait until we talk about the text messages.
Laurence. Very beautiful woman. There you go. Although I'm probably not allowed to say that I'm.
If you would turn away and walk away from that beautiful a woman just because she's so fundamentally irritating, it goes to show that women are not attractive to men. In that way, those sort of women, men are repulsed by. We find them disgusting. How dare you do that to Jeff Norcott? Jeff Norcott is a very reasonable guy, and he was pointing out that suicide in men under 50 is the biggest cause of death in under 50 men. Also, 100% of the causes of death in armed conflict and people who come to protect our country. So women like that need to go and do one. They need to be told to do one as well. You wanted equality? Let's treat you like men. We find you boring. Do one.
So, as a result of this rant, Laurence Fox has been officially suspended by GB News, and Ava Santina posted about it, saying, Laurence Fox just did a whole speech on why men apparently won't shag me. I am physically sick. But I think Laurence Fox was kind of onto something here, because the most effective way to actually communicate a point to women is to say, well, you won't be accepted, affirmed, and give it attention for this opinion you hold. That's the way that you get a woman to change her opinion.
Somebody also, Sean Horn on Twitter, I don't know who that is, says, is this you? And it's her saying, it's her talking about not going to shag people.
Oh yeah, she's also spoken this way about men, I'm sure.
She says, Laurence isn't going to shag you, mate. I'm not going to shag you, pal. I live by a church that's been ringing bells since 9 a.m. Please, how do I make it stop? He's not going to shag you. Mate.
Tim also tweeted about this. He said, Lady got Superman. That dude said no one wants to F her, so they suspended him. Poor lady, she just wants men to go on TV saying how much they want to F her.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, she snarkily tweeted, I haven't had an apology yet, if anyone was wondering.
That is the
she
level
followed it
of
up,
privilege of that.
Saying,
that is insane.
Really, really grateful to every person who reached out to me, from MPs to journalists to friends and people on here. I'm overwhelmed by how kind people have been. I'm also immensely grateful to the incredibly courageous people who spoke out despite working at that station.
People say meaner stuff about us in the comment section or the chat.
And if we reacted the way Ava Santina has and said, I haven't received an apology yet, by the way.
I'm waiting for an apology from everyone in the chat. It's so mean to me.
The most despicable part of this story isn't even that Laurence Fox got suspended off the network. It's that Dan Wooten, the guy who was interviewing him, threw him completely under the bus. Yep. He said on Twitter, I want to reiterate my regret over last night's exchange with Laurence on GB News. Having looked at the footage, I can see how inappropriate my reaction to his totally unacceptable remarks appears to be, and I want to be clear that I was in no way amused by the comments. I reacted as I did out of shock and surprise in an
actually
off-guard moment while working out how to respond as he continued to speak by searching for tweets Ava Santina had sent earlier in the day while having them read out in my ear at the same time. However, I should have intervened immediately to challenge offensive and misogynistic remarks. I apologize unreservedly for what was a very unfortunate lapse in judgment on my part, under the intense pressure of a bizarre exchange.
Yeah.
I know I should have done better. I'm devastated that I let down the team and our supportive GBN family. We seek to tackle the issue and not the person, which I intend to stress again on air tonight.
The most corporate answer I've ever seen.
I don't know if it was written for him, but Community Notes called him right out on his statement and said, Laurence Fox shared a private message conversation between himself and Dan Wooten where they laugh and joke about the contribution. Mr. Wooten shared several crying with laughter emojis, which strongly indicate that he was indeed amused by Mr. Fox's comments. And Laurence Fox did post this screenshot where he said to Dan Wooten, "Making you giggle is my weekly joy," laughing, crying emoji. Dan Wooten sent back 3, count them, 3 crying, laughing emojis. And he said, you can imagine them freaking out in the gallery, 5 exclamation points. And Laurence Fox says, so much fun.
Guys,
thank you.
We are one crisis party away from proving your loyalty to the Claires. One more to go. One more to go.
So evidently, he was in fact amused by Laurence Fox's rant.
If he had
and
just
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
But it's really despicable that he went and threw him under the bus like that. And
I mean, I just think
he
the
just
idea
totally cucked. He totally cucked to the mob.
I just think the idea that she thinks she's owed an apology or a welfare check from losers on the internet is despicable.
I mean, it's the exact reason why the male suicide epidemic is the dire situation that it is, because people are constantly tending to the emotional demands of women whom they don't know, and the emotional...
That's why we used to call it white knighting, and we make fun of you for it.
The emotional effect that anything has on men, including even trauma from like actual combat, is dismissed.
Oh, you were essayed? Well, that's
could the situation be laid out any more clearly for us than it was in this exchange? Yep. She is making demands for her own emotional welfare from strangers on the internet.
Don't be in the public space if you can't take the heat.
Right. And let's show the clip of her talking about this and responding to this, where she says that she was used as a vehicle for content and it was dehumanizing.
This is actually nothing to do with me.
No.
This is a network problem. This is a presenter, guest, gallery, production issue that is nothing to do with me. I just so happen to be the person they're talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm not in the conversation. I wasn't present for it.
No.
I didn't ask. I wasn't given a comment, right to reply, anything. It's not to do with me. And that's what makes me feel most sick about it. I'm just a commodity in this story.
Yeah.
I'm just a vehicle for content. And that's the
way she's actually finger wagging right now. That must be so hard for you, Ava.
If you're going to be in the public space, you have to learn that you have to accept that people are going to have comments. Like there was somebody, like, I joke all the time. I'm like, everyone's like, Brett, you're ugly, you're short, you're disgusting, fine. But when people are like, you're covering the wrong topics, I get irrationally upset. Like everyone's got their triggers, right? The things that bother them. But that's the risk you take if you're going to choose a career or a path or a hobby. Anything that's going to put you in the public sphere is going to make you, like, if you want the benefits that come from that, if you want the financial incentives, if you want the ability to raise your profile to a higher level, which will come with tons of positive reinforcement as well, you as a human being, have to accept that there's also going to be those that disagree with you and accept that not all things will be good all the time. I don't think that that is a completely irrational way to look at the world. I think that's how everyone prior to 2016 understood how the world worked in the public sphere. And you had to have a thicker skin than most if you wanted to do that. Mm-hmm. Plenty of actors talk about how they're like when it came to drugs and stuff like that, a lot of it did have to do with the fact that they had to deal with the fact that they were now a public figure and their privacy wasn't their own, and they were going to be subjected to opinions that weren't that they might not necessarily want to hear about that. Nobody wants to hear those things, but that's on you as an individual, as an adult. It is on you to be able to handle the pressures of. I don't think that that's an unreasonable thing to think about. So
to conclude, Laurence Fox tweeted 8 minutes ago, "Good night, twatter. The feminization of men is a cancer on society, and every single human life is sacred."
Well, I'm glad he didn't apologize.
No, he will never.
But just the idea that he got suspended is kind of bonkers.
Yeah.
And makes you realize how far things have fallen.
It's against their online safety bill, right? He's
Ofcom,
technically breaking the law by criticizing a woman.
Yep.
If that's not the longhouse, I don't know what is.
Now, explain to the people might not understand the longhouse. Why don't you explain that to them?
It's like asking someone to define woke.
Yes.
I think Andrea would be really good at explaining the longhouse.
I think that was
she
was the person. I think
she calls it the hen house.
I think she was the first person I heard it from.
It's just a synonym for gynocracy or a femocracy or a society where female aggression, like modes of aggression that are specifically female, are prioritized. Yeah. So that's why Ava Santina gets to weaponize her victimhood.
Yeah, and that is it is true that social media sped that process up because social media plays to all of the worst traits of women when they shame. Right? Like men do it too, but that's men doing that's a feminine thing to shame and shun other people and gossip, right?
If you took backbiting gossip and then put it on the world stage for everyone to see at all times.
And turned it into a viable weapon.
Media.
And turned it into a viable weapon that can be used to actually affect careers and business models. I do want to point out there was a couple of good ones up here. Somebody says, exactly, what if someone said Brett looks like a metrosexual Ewok? Water off a duck's back. That was clever. Or if he said Brat looks like he failed to transition to androgynous, he wouldn't bat an eye.
Damn.
Ow.
You don't need to put a spotlight on it though, Brat.
Ow. Like I said, the physical insults are a lot less painful than other things. But when people go over the top, it actually is less effective. Like I said, the worst thing that anyone's ever said to me on here was, Brett seems like a nice guy. He's just not that good at this. That one still keeps me up at night. It does. It does.
Because it's very sincere.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's like, hey, look, you're a good guy. It's kind of like when they talk about like this career, maybe this career just isn't for you. It's time to give up. It's time to tap out. It's time to just because they're not trying to be mean. When they're trying to be over the top, rude and mean, you can dismiss it as just sour grapes or trolling or bad behavior, whatever. But when someone's like, I genuinely want to see you succeed, but maybe this just isn't the job for you. You're just like, oh, my heart. There's a $20 one there from Leonardo DiCaprio.
Don't cross the road if you can't get out of the kitchen. People in glass houses sink ships. A penny saved is worth a pound of cure. A stitch in time makes the world go round. All roads lead to any port in the storm.
Or what's the rising tides raise all boats? That's a saying, right?
Yes, it is.
Do you think that this is the type of thing that is there an example to the contrary where if a woman said something about a guy that would get the woman pulled off the?
No.
I can't think of anything.
Unless it's something in like racial discourse.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
That's pretty much the only thing that you could say. If it's a white woman talking about a minority guy, that's not really a one-to-one comparison. Yep. Let's go to Super Chats. Benrick5 said OC, but Mary needs to introduce the empty chair in a Japanese accent next time. Seriously, I've never laughed so hard yesterday.
Guys, we are about 3/4 of the way to the fourth crisis party. Again, I'm just saying, if you want to prove your loyalty to the cult of Claire's, We need another crisis party. Just saying.
You started it, not us.
Also, we've got 343 likes. 850 people are watching right now, guys. Would you hit the like button on this video? Would you hit the like button on this video?
Even if you don't hit the like button, at least hit the dislike button. Take a stand. Yep. I'm not gonna make a habit out of doing a Japanese accent.
Corn Pop says, more practice, Brett. By around episode 500, you'll be decent by then. Ooh. Well, what do they? No, they say
How many hours of this show have we done?
So they say it takes 10,000 hours to master a skill, right? And we do 2 hours a day, 400 episodes. We're not even close. We'll get there. We'll get there eventually.
Annie still said, sending support. Are you guys make my night? I don't know what that means.
We do. Thank you.
It was like a question, like, are you guys make my night?
Well, if what you're trying to say is we make your night, thank you.
DD Megadoodoo97 said, just stopping by to say that Catholic lo-fi that Brittany was kataing to was Sadness by Enigma.
Yep, it was.
Surprised you didn't catch that, Brett. Anyways, happy Tuesday, y'all, and good luck getting Bo-birded, Brett.
Look, the only Enigma song I listen to is Return to Innocence, of course, because I've seen Man of the House starring Chevy Chase and Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Right? Oh, also, I went last night and I listened to 45 minutes of Catholic lo-fi.
You did?
It was a vibe.
You loved it.
It was a vibe. Like, I was sitting there, I'm like, this is going so much harder than I thought it would.
Well, did you realize, like, what made it Catholic lo-fi? Or is
not
it just
a clue.
Lo-fi?
Just felt like all it was. It was a guy smoking a cigar with a dog rather than a kid studying with a cat.
Was it called Sleepy Dad?
It was called like cigars in like porch cigars and something.
It's a vibe.
It was a vibe.
Definitely
He had American flag behind him, and I was just sitting there and I'm like, I don't know what makes it Catholic.
You're just like,
but let's go, right?
You're like the Drake gif. You're like,
I was also
okay.
I told I went to Kellen after I watched this, and I told him about like us getting mentioned on Pints with Aquinas, and got humbled real quick. He's like, what the hell is Pints with Aquinas? I'm like, yeah, like I know what it is because I work with I have a Catholic coworker that I spend.
You have an insane Catholic co-host.
But no, but also because
that watches Pints with Aquinas.
Because on the show Madam Secretary, the character, like the main character, like Taya Leone's husband, who's played by Tim Daly, he's a former Marine who's also a theologian and a religious scholar, and he mentions Thomas Aquinas like once an episode.
Yeah.
So he gets brought up all the time.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know about that.
Let's get to that. We're getting closer to that fourth crisis party, guys.
I feel like Pints with Aquinas and Pop Culture Crisis are two worlds that are just like never gonna collide.
Pop Culture with Aquinas would be a great crossover episode.
How would that work?
We'll have Pop with Aquinas. We'll drink soda. Because I can't drink alcohol, so we'll drink soda with Aquinas.
The Last of My Kind said Daphne Keene from X-23 to Snow White.
Okay, she's the same age, around the same age as Mackenzie Grace, so that's possible. Again, but remember, that's the girl who I showed you those photos, and I was like, why does she look 32? Like she's a pharmaceutical sales rep.
She doesn't.
She looks like she's 30 now.
Mackenzie Foy?
No, Daphne Keene.
Oh, Daphne Keene. Yeah. I think I remember that now.
She looks way older than she is.
Well, that's rude.
Well, no, not in a bad way. She just looks like she just doesn't look 18.
Like you look really old. Not in a bad way though.
Like she just
No,
looks...
she was it the
She looks like a 25. She looks like a 25-year-old.
No, you said she looked like 35.
She looks like she's in her getting close to 30 here.
When you asked me how old is this person, I think I said like 30.
Yes. She just doesn't look 18 to me. She looks
one
older.
of those faces.
But then when she was in when she played X-23, she didn't look old at all. She was like 12 in that role. So she's aged. Maybe she smokes a lot of cigarettes. Maybe that's what it is. A lot of makeup, a lot of cigarettes.
Shane H. Wilder said, vulgarity for vulgarity's sake has never been funny. If I could go back in time, I would see Lily Tomlin listen to This Is a Recording, one of her best. Okay. Chief Op Off said, love y'all, just a little contribution here. Mr. X said, cool to see you have Hassan join you for Superchats.
Where is Hassan?
In the empty chair.
Is he in the empty chair? Is that him right there hanging out?
Yeah.
That's cool.
He's with us.
I see people are still mentioning it. They're gonna get that that fourth crisis party.
Forgot this $20 one from High Voltage 75 said, how many tries did it take you to pass your driver's test?
Mary?
One try.
One try. Yep.
Okay, that was
I've never told anyone or I don't know if I've talked about the story where I thought I was going to have to go take the driver's test again when I moved out here because I had let my license lapse
that would have
and
been
then
dumb.
went through like a year's worth of paperwork and stuff trying to get it figured out because my license had been suspended in Minnesota and I was in this like weird like no man's land of like paperwork bureaucracy where I basically didn't exist. And then when I finally got it all the paperwork figured out, took like a year. There was a day we had to remember when people were like complaining like why did you like we came back over the holidays last year.
Yeah.
And we actually came back a day later than we were going to because I had to spend the entire day on hold between the Minnesota DMV and the Maryland DMV trying to figure out what the hell I needed to get all of this stuff taken care of. And it took like 6 hours between the two of them. By the time I get it all figured out, it's like 4 months later and they just said, here's your driver's license.
Yeah.
I was like, I haven't driven a car in 10 years. You're giving me a drive.
It felt like you found the glitch in the system.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
Carnell said, Mary, your dissatisfaction of the strike ending is shared. I too was convinced that it would carry over to 2024. C'est la vie. It really is a disappointment.
I think a lot of people. I mean, technically, it still could if the actors
at
don't
least
get
that one. I'm holding out hope.
It's very possible that we might not get anything back till then.
Benrick 5 said, remember, Brits are a fragment of the imagination, but that one's based. He is real.
If we're talking,
Laurence Fox?
I think that is he talking
or the pilot
because today I'm all about
the naughty
pilot.
boy.
The pilot is my favorite story of it. What I want is Laurence Fox to start a buddy podcast with the pilot where they just snort coke off of the chests of women. That's
the
what
knockers.
The knockers of women. Obviously they won't be if there's any way to guarantee that the woman that the woman you're on a podcast with isn't a feminist, it's if she's willing to let you snort coke off of her chest.
It's an inherently anti-feminist
It's a very anti-feminist statement.
Courier626 said, Ave true to OC. Ellie Ray said, for the record, I think both Brett and Mary are great at this. I will now go back to my silent listening.
Thank you.
Now.
And thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks. DCNC said, is Brett secretly Canadian test?
Oh yeah, totally for sure, buddy. Perfect. Yeah. It's not fair. It's not fair.
You are secret Canadian.
I do not know that.
You're a secret frostback.
Yeah, remember DCNC, we don't call them Canadians here. We call them frostbacks. It's a slur.
I wonder if there are spies from Canada that pretend to be American.
I mean, like, what? And how can anybody from Canada even call us out? They literally just clapped for Nazis. How am I supposed to take you seriously over there?
High Voltage 75, Annie Still said, I am from the UK and the Dan Wooten guy just got suspended from GB News.
So
despite apologizing, this is why you never apologize, because it never reaps any reward for you.
Yep.
It never goes well when you back down because it's never enough.
You will never make them like.
What an idiot! What an idiot!
Is there any example of somebody who's like, here I'm apologizing, and then everyone goes, perfect, all is forgiven, and then their life just went swimmingly from there on out. The sun shined down on them.
I really appreciate that you've apologized, and I forgive you. Have a good day, sir.
That's never happened. No. Nobody's ever done that. Like, no actor that's ever apologized. Imagine right now if Gina Carano had apologized. Nothing would have changed. No. Maybe she would have kept her job and she would have been miserable and silenced and forced to basically be like a doormat for a bunch of people who just wanted to crap on her in a Zoom meeting.
Yep.
I'm glad she didn't. Nobody should ever do that.
Shane H. Wilder said, definitely listen to Sleepy Dad, Brett. It's a vibe.
Okay.
That's a good one.
What is that?
There are several albums of Catholic lo-fi.
Okay. So Sleepy Dad is Catholic?
It's part of Catholic lo-fi. I think it was like one of the album names.
That's incredible.
Let me look it up.
That there's just a subculture here of different Catholic things. Because you know what?
It's called Vibes with Aquinas.
It's funny too because remember that was a thing where let's face it, Catholic music has been dunked on in the past.
So the first one is called Vibes with Aquinas. The second one is Rosary Girl. Then Sleepy Dad. Then Cigar Bible and Chill. Then Christmas.
Cigar
Christmas
Bible and
album.
Chill was the one that I listened to.
And then The Sacred Heart came out this year. Recommending it.
It looks like Kedamono, Claire just sent us over. We have reached for Crisis Parties. Awesome. Cult of Claire's has officially asserted itself as a force to be reckoned with in the Discord.
There's now a lobby.
Yes.
It's got to control what we say on the show.
I'm willing to sell myself to the highest bidder for my views can be sold to the highest bidder. It's fine.
Olivia Claire said, if not for me, do it for HCB.
There you go. And again, we've never seen them both in the same place at the same time. So for all we know, they're the same person.
Right.
Though it would be very weird if for some reason Hannah Claire's didn't know anything about technology and hated Discord, and Olivia Claire, her alter ego, was super into Discord and understood technology. Yeah.
Dollclick said, Brett, you're great at your job. Cheers to you never missing a day. And sorry, thank you, sorry, not sorry to all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Don't know what that means. Matt Kelly said, here's to 4 Crisis Parties. Thank you for that, guys.
We did do that.
Kedamono Claire said, all hail the Claires.
The Claires. And they were saying the clarining. I said, no, it should be called the clairvoyance. Duh.
That's a good idea.
If it's got a name, it's got to be called the clairvoyance. I'll read Leonardo Derp Caprio's. He says, Tomorrow Never Dies was the one with the British media mogul with the stealth boat manipulating the headlines ahead of its time. Yes, that was the one that was prescient. Because Jonathan Pryce's character, he runs a media empire that basically can, he can predict the news because he makes the news happen. So in the beginning of the movie, he wants to start war with China. So he fakes an attack on China underseas with a stealth sub, and he's this evil media baron. It's amazing. It came out in 1997. It is also funny to watch them talk about how
thank you.
The reason he wants to start war with China is because China wouldn't sell him media rights. Because they're communists.
Right.
And there's also, I do want to point out, guys, there is a very creepy scene in that movie that I don't think that they gave much thought to at the time. So in that movie, Jonathan Pryce's character, his name's Jonathan Carver. He's married to Terry Hatcher. I don't remember what her character's name is. But in that movie, she apparently didn't have the greatest chemistry with Pierce Brosnan. So they end up offing her early in the movie.
How could you have bad chemistry with Pierce Brosnan?
I have no idea. Even RFK has good chemistry with Pierce Brosnan, guys. But okay, so she gets offed when Jonathan Carver discovers that his wife knew James Bond when they were younger, right? So when Bond finds her body, he brushes her hair and kisses her in a not kiss on the forehead type way. Go back and rewatch it, guys. It's
in a necrophile way.
He kisses her on the neck, not on the top of the forehead, if I remember correctly. It's very not normal. Also, it's when they introduced the updated Walther PPK rather than the So yeah, it's great. I love that movie. That scene was weird, but the gadgets are good in that movie, especially with Q. Love that one. And again, the idea of an evil media mogul definitely hits home hard, more so now than it did before. And I remember Chris Stuckman, the YouTuber Chris Stuckman, reviewed this movie years later, where he reviewed a bunch of the old Bond movies. And I left a comment that says, man, this movie is way ahead of its time and really, really, I might have even used the word prescient, right? And somebody goes, why? Because I mentioned with the evil media mogul and the way the news is today, and so it goes what's so you just
I don't get it.
I don't get it. I was okay, whatever. You can't make this stuff up. All right, guys. Before we go, would you hit the like button on this video? If you do so, you're affirming me and Mary. You're telling us we're good at our jobs. Don't you want to do that? So hit the like button on this video. Subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. Turn the notification bell on so you can be notified anytime a new episode goes up, anytime a new segment goes up. And remember to share these videos with your friends so that more people can come in here and hang out with us. So Mary, let everyone know where they can find you.
You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on Twitter or X. That is also Mary Archived. And unless something goes horribly wrong, I plan to be on IRL tonight. I guess I shouldn't say who the guest is if people don't know that yet, but see you there.
All right. If you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on Twix and Instagram at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. This show is here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. I do want to give a heads up notice in advance that I will be again appearing this Friday at 9 p.m. with Colonel Kurtz. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk Marilyn Manson. We're going to talk Russell Brand. I'm assuming Kathy Griffin will come up and all of that stuff. We got a bunch of other stuff we're going to talk about, so hang out with us there. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is this show. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify if you'd like to listen to the audio version of this podcast. And if you'd like to follow this show on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We had a video about Taylor Swift that went got quite a few views and a lot of hate from Swifties the other day. So go ahead and check us out on there. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.
Bye.